Hi, it's Paul here from self-hypnosis.com, and today I'm going to talk about how to hypnotize yourself or how to perform self-hypnosis. Now, every thought that you have is a form of self-hypnosis. That's because every thought is either taking you towards some desired outcome or away from it. And often we end up in a negative trance where we have this internal self-talk that's reprogramming our subconscious mind in a negative way. So what this video is all about is helping you hypnotize yourself in a positive way, because you're doing it naturally anyway. Now, what is a hypnotic state? Well, it is a state that's characterized by a few different things, including focused concentration. So you're focusing more on one idea and less on all the other mental noise that's normally going on. It's also a sense of greater internal focus. So you're focusing more on internal things that are happening in your mind and less focused on the external world. It's also characterized by slower brainwave states, and I'll talk about that more in a moment. And you've been in a hypnotic state many times in the past. So if you're reading a really captivating book, you have that focus of concentration, that more focused concentration. You will have a more internal focus because you're more focused on the book and less focused on what else is going on around you. And your brainwaves will probably slow down a little bit as well. If you're watching a movie in the cinema, you will be very captivated and focused on the movie. So that's where most of your concentration will be. You'll be less aware of what's maybe going on around you in the movie cinema. And again, you'll find that you're reacting emotionally to the movie as well. That's another characteristic sometimes of a hypnotic state as well. Now, this can also happen when you're driving. So when you're driving, you're focusing on the road and that kind of thing, but also your brainwaves tend to slow down a bit. And you might be maybe a little bit more aware of some of the thoughts and things you're having as well. And sometimes, half an hour can go past where you've been driving and you haven't really been aware of that much of what's been happening outside, the road and the towns you've gone through, that kind of thing, because you've had more of an internal focus of concentration. So there's a few different areas in life where you naturally experience something that's like a hypnotic state. So let's talk a little bit more about negative hypnosis now. So someone who's got some kind of habit or an addiction often experiences some kind of negative hypnosis. So it could be someone that's craving that next cigarette. So they start thinking more and more about that cigarette, so it becomes the focus of their concentration. They become less aware of the other things that are going on in their environment. So again, we get that internal focus. And then once they have that cigarette, those thoughts start to go away until they think about the next cigarette. So they've almost got this focus on the cigarette. Could be similar for someone that's craving an alcoholic drink. So maybe it's got to about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They're starting to realize it's getting close to the end of the day, and they start thinking about having an alcoholic drink when they get home. And they start to think more and more about that drink. So until about 5 o'clock, that's really all they're thinking about now, getting home and having that alcoholic drink. So again, we've got that concentrated focus on the alcoholic drink, more of a sense of internal awareness because there's more thoughts about that. And then when that person will get home, pour a glass of wine or have a beer, and then they'll start thinking about other things. So they then come out of that hypnotic trance. So as you can see, often what I do when I help people as a hypnotherapist is I often help people get out of hypnotic states that they've created themselves. Okay, so they are already hypnotized. I'm almost dehypnotizing them. Now let's talk a little bit about brainwave states. So in normal everyday awareness, your brainwave state is what's called the beta level. Okay, someone that is more anxious might have a higher level of beta, but that range is called beta, and that's a fairly fast brainwave state. So everything below that is slower. Okay, so at certain times of the day we drift into alpha state, which is a slower brainwave state, and that might happen if you're daydreaming or maybe if you're reading or watching a movie. Okay, so that's that more focused learning state, and that's also a state you can access in hypnosis as well. And then the next state down is theta, which is slower brainwaves still, and that's more associated with rapid eye movements, so that kind of light sleep, dreamy sleep, but can also be achieved in meditation and hypnosis as well. So typically we're looking at getting to an alpha state. With some people and in some hypnotic sessions, it's possible to get down to the theta state. Now there is one brainwave state lower than that, which is delta, and that is deep sleep. Okay, so when you're in that state, you really are unconscious. Okay, but again, occasionally some seasoned meditators can achieve that delta state, but that's pretty hard for most of us. So the purpose of hypnotizing yourself, of self-hypnosis, is to reprogram your subconscious mind. So that's the part of your mind that's responsible for your feelings, emotions, impulsive behaviors, the part of your mind that tends to make you do things instinctively and automatically, and sometimes regret doing those things. So by consciously hypnotizing yourself, we can start to reprogram the subconscious mind so that you naturally do the behaviors and actions that you want to do, the ones that are going to take you closer towards your goals. And I talk more about the subconscious mind in a video that's going to appear just up here, or I'll put a link in the description below. So the process I'm going to take you through now consists of 5 steps. Step 1 is to slow down your brain waves to access that hypnotic state. Step 2 is to suspend your existing beliefs. Step 3 is to reinforce some core beliefs that tend to be behind most issues. Step 4 is then to have some positive ideas. These could be suggestions, mantras, affirmations. So these are new positive ideas, or it could be some kind of visualization, or even asking yourself self-hypnotic questions. And then the final step is to come out, so to come back into your normal everyday waking awareness. Okay, so let's start with step 1. So step 1 is to slow down your brain waves, and there's a few components to this which I'm going to cover now. So the first one is to develop something called peripheral or side vision. So I'm going to do this now as I'm talking into the camera. So peripheral vision is really when you become aware of everything that's around the edge of your vision. So while I'm looking at the lens now, I'm starting to notice things to the left and the right of the room. So I can see the walls, I can see a mirror, and I'm also noticing above, I can see the ceiling and also the floor below. And I'm already noticing my mental focus is changing while I'm doing that. And the reason for that is that the more that you focus on what's happening around your peripheral vision, that means that your brain is taking in more external information. And when it does that, it can only take in about 7 or 8 bits of information at a time. So it has to slow down some of the internal processes that are happening in your brain. Okay, so I'm noticing now that my internal dialogue is reducing, and I'm just noticing a slightly altered state in a way. So that's peripheral vision. So it's just really becoming aware of what is around you, so focusing on one object and then just becoming aware without moving your eyes of what's to the left, to the right of you, up and down. And if you do this now, you'll really notice your state does start to change as you do that. Now the next thing is to do some kind of relaxation breathing. So really just breathing in deeply into your stomach or your tummy area and then breathing out. And what I tend to suggest is to make your out breaths longer than your in breaths. So just breathing in slowly and then breathing out, but making your out breath longer than your in breath. And then the next component is to say a mantra like relax, relax, relax. So every 3 seconds, just say the word relax, relax, relax. Then the next bit is to close your eyes. So you're now in a state of meditation or hypnosis, and you will be less attached to your thoughts. You're more like an observer looking at your thoughts and less involved. And you're also, as I mentioned earlier, more internally focused and more focusing on just the idea of being in this slightly altered state. And this state is also a very good learning state for taking in new information, because your subconscious mind is now much more receptive to new ideas. So step 2 is to use a suspend belief statement. Now 20% of the population are perfect hypnotic subjects, And these are often the people that you see in stage shows. So they put them into hypnosis, and then the hypnotist tells them to do stupid things on stage, and they just go and do it to the amusement of everyone else, particularly the people in the audience. Now, why is it that they do that? That is because in these 20% of people, their critical faculty, which is the part of the brain that tends to question new ideas and new suggestions, goes to sleep in hypnosis. Okay? But for everyone else, that part of the mind might reduce in its intensity, but it's still there. And that means that any new suggestions that are not believable will not slip inside to the subconscious mind. And a really good analogy is to think about the unconscious mind as having some kind of door policy, or like a bouncer. So like a bouncer in a nightclub. So there's this queue of people waiting outside the nightclub, waiting to get into this wonderful place where all the fun is and all the excitement are and where all the wonderful people are. And they're waiting outside in the queue. And think of those people as like new ideas that you want to get into your subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind is like the nightclub. So the bouncer lets some of these people in, some of these new ideas in. They go into the nightclub and have fun. But some of these people, they get turned away. The bouncer says, no, don't like the look of you, don't like what you're wearing, you're not getting in. Okay, so we have these different ideas. Some get into the nightclub and some don't. Now, if you're one of these people who wants to get into this nightclub and the bouncer's turned you away, it's not going to help to resist that. If you try and resist and just force your way into the nightclub, then the bouncer's going to get all his mates and is going to line up the door so there's no way you can get in. And that's the same thing that happens when your critical faculty has resistance to some kind of belief or new idea. It just resists it and doesn't let that information, that new idea, into your unconscious mind. Now, going back to the bouncer idea now if with the bouncer, if I was to make friends with the bouncer, okay, to become his mate, then he would be much more likely to let me into this wonderful nightclub, okay? Or if I could distract him in some way, maybe I pointed to him and said, look, there's a fight over there, and then while he was looking over there, I slipped inside. That could work. And with the critical faculty, that's possible too in hypnosis. So sometimes in my hypnotherapy sessions, I might tell stories or metaphors, and the unconscious mind will pick up on that. And that will also distract the conscious mind as well. Or I can use different language as well that can also distract the critical faculty and the conscious mind generally. So in the case of self-hypnosis, the purpose of the suspend belief statement that we're about to use is to allow you to make friends with the bouncer, with this door policy for new ideas that's protecting the new ideas from accessing your unconscious mind. And it also allows you to suspend or at least reduce the impact of the critical faculty. Now, this step is really so important, and it gets missed in so many other methods of using self-hypnosis. So this is really, really important because it's allowing that critical part of your mind to take a break for the duration of the self-hypnosis session. So this is the suspend belief statement. I consciously, deliberately, and willingly suspend my existing beliefs about whatever my desired outcome is. Instead, I accept these new ideas as if they are completely true right now. My desire and belief are completely aligned just for now, and that feels good. So you start by repeating those, and then we can move to step 3. Now, step 3 is to reinforce 5 positive core beliefs. Now, these core beliefs provide a foundation for the more unique positive ideas, suggestions, visualizations, and even self-hypnotic questions that you're going to use in step 4. And the 5 core beliefs are, and you don't need to use all of these, just pick the ones that you think are behind whatever it is you want to work on. But the 5 core beliefs are, I am good enough. So if you feel that there's some element of not feeling good enough about whatever it is you want to achieve, then use that one, I am good enough. The second one is, I am worthy enough. So if there's any sense that you're not worthy of whatever it is you want, then use that one. So I am worthy enough. The next one is, the world is a safe place for me. So if any part of the old idea is around something not being safe, then that's a really good one to use. The next one is, I am powerful and can influence my world. This is a great one if you feel that whatever you do in life, nothing is going to change. So if you read a book or you watch a video or you do a course or you go and see a therapist, whatever it is you do, that nothing's going to really change. And this could happen because maybe you've tried a few different things in the past and you've not had much of a result. So if you have a fundamental belief in your mind that whatever you do, nothing's going to really change for me, then that's going to make it very hard to get the benefit of self-hypnosis. So that, I'll just repeat that one again then. So I am powerful and can influence my world. So this is basically saying that I have the ability to change. I can do this. And then the last one is only really relevant if the issue is around relationships, improving relationships. And that one is love and relationships equal pleasure. So if things in the past, of experiences in the past have been painful for you in terms of relationships, then that's a really good core belief to cultivate, because relationships should be pleasurable. Absolutely, you know. Definitely human connection, that thing should really allow us to grow in so many ways in our life. So step 4 is new positive ideas. Now it's important that these new positive ideas are about something that you want to change. So something that you don't have right now that you want in the future. If it's about something you already have, then there's no real point in doing self-hypnosis for that. And these new ideas could be in the form of suggestions, mantras, or affirmations. So these are statements, positive statements about the thing that you want to change, that you say to yourself a number of times in self-hypnosis. Now it's really important that these statements are believable. That's the key thing here. And often people who do cognitive behavioral therapy get into a bit of a problem here, because the therapist encourages them to come up with new thoughts to challenge the old thoughts. But if those new thoughts are not believable, then it's not really going to work. So it's really, really important that the new ideas are believable to you. And some of the ways to make these ideas more believable include saying something like, I want to, or I can, or I am learning, or every day I am getting better at doing whatever your outcome is, or I take action every day to become one step closer to achieving X, or whatever the outcome is. So let's use these different wordings with the example of my body is healing itself. Okay, so let's take this somebody here who's got a few health challenges going on and starts with this statement of my body is healing itself. Now that statement is probably not going to be believable. They're just going to look at all the past experiences in life and say, well, no, it's not. You know, this keeps happening, this keeps happening. There's no way that my body can heal itself. But if you then changed it to, I want my body to heal itself, that's more believable. Okay, that's less likely to get any resistance from the critical faculty. Or you could say, my body can heal itself. Or I am learning how to heal my body. Or I am learning how my body can heal itself. Or every day I am getting better at finding new ways to allow my body to heal itself. Or I take action every day to become one step closer to my body healing itself. Can you see how those different statements are much more believable? Okay, and that's really, really important. So experiment with those different phrases and words. These will all be in the blog post that accompanies these videos, so you can refer to them then, and I'll put them in the description as well. And another important part of step 4 is to in some way address the core belief behind it. So we mentioned the core beliefs in step 3, but if you can, as part of your unique affirmations, address that in some way, then that can really help as well. So the second way of bringing in some new positive ideas could be to use some kind of visualization. So rather than repeating statements, you can visualize the outcome that you want. And I've covered this in another video which will appear right up here, and I'll also put a link in the description as well. But really the key thing with visualization is to visualize on a very large screen. So just imagine in your imagination that what you're visualizing is really large and taking up the whole of like this screen in your mind. And also use all your senses, so not just what you can see, but also what you can hear, what you can feel. You can also bring in your internal dialogue, so positive self-talk into that. So you're really just making it like a real movie experience of what you want. And the more you do that, the more you bring all the senses into it, the more that impresses on your subconscious mind. So it will impress much more deeply on your subconscious mind. Now the next way is to use some kind of self-hypnotic questions. So the great thing about questions is that when you ask yourself a question, your unconscious mind, or your mind generally, has to find an answer. It will start thinking about an answer. So asking questions is great. So it could be something like, how can I increase my ability to do whatever my desired outcome is? Or how can I do this even more? So as soon as you start asking questions, especially when you're in that self-hypnotic state, that alpha state, then your mind will start to look for ways to resolve that for you, to answer the questions and resolve the problem. Okay, so now we've done our new positive suggestions. So now the final step is to come out. So to come back to normal waking awareness. And the easiest way to do that is just to count from 5 down to 1. Just becoming more aware of different parts of your body as you do that. And then when you get to 1, you can open your eyes and maybe have a stretch and just come back to normal waking awareness. So here are a few tips now to help increase the effectiveness of your self-hypnosis. So the first one is repetition. It's important to do self-hypnosis regularly. Ideally 30 to 40 times, so 30 to 40 days, to really get that new idea firmly embedded in your unconscious mind. Okay, so it's something you need to do a number of times. The second thing is focus on one desired outcome per self-hypnosis session. Okay, it's really important that you just focus on one specific thing. You can still have statements and visualization and questions for that one thing, but just focus on one desired outcome per session. The third thing is, and this is particularly if you're using suggestions, but does apply to the other visualization and questions as well, is to focus on this idea for at least 20 seconds. So if you're repeating something, repeat it at least for 20 seconds, because your brain is so used to you just flittering from different ideas very quickly. But when it notices you focusing on something for at least 20 seconds, ideally longer, it starts to take note and starts to realize that this idea is actually really important, and things start to change in your brain. And as you do this more and more, you'll begin to be able to hold an idea for a minute, and then maybe even for 3 to 5 minutes. Now, when you first do this, it's going to be really, really hard to do. So it definitely requires some perseverance. But your brain will definitely take something much more seriously if you can hold that attention for at least 20 seconds. This is called monoideism. That's the technical name for it. So it's the idea of the power of just focusing your mind on just one core idea to the exclusion of everything else. Another tip is to use emotion as much as you can. So whether you're repeating affirmations, statements, or using visualization, bring in as much emotion as you can. Emotion really is the fuel for imprinting information and new ideas into your unconscious mind. So emotion is really important. The next tip is to do self-hypnosis in bed as you wake up in the morning, because your brain is still in that alpha state. So then you can skip the first step and go straight to step 2 and start your self-hypnosis from there. It can also work pretty well doing self-hypnosis just before going to sleep at night. Another great tip is to record your self-hypnosis session in your own voice. So record the whole thing, and then you can just play the recording and be guided through it. And that's a nice one to do at night just before going to sleep, because that way if you fall asleep during the recording, that's okay, the recording's still playing. So that's a good tip as well. Now, if you'd like me to hypnotize you, then go to selfhelpforlife.com/hypnotherapy, and you'll find more information about how I can help you achieve positive changes in your life using hypnosis and hypnotherapy. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, please give it a like, and do leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what you think. And do subscribe to this channel and click the bell notification. That way you will always be notified whenever I release future videos. And do check out my website as well, that is Self Help for Life. On there you will find the written versions to many of these videos and also links to my podcast and social media as well. So thank you again for watching this video, and I look forward to sharing more great content with you very soon. Bye for now.